last year. So G7 leaders came up with the importance of peace and stability of the Straits, and they issued the statement. And also they urge the peaceful resolution if there is any issues based upon all those negotiations and talks. And also you asked the hypothetical question, but so the lesson number one of being a diplomat is to respectfully to avoid respectfully avoid for answering to the hypothetical questions. But I would say that this is a very serious matter. So it is only natural for the government to take all possible measures, including the development of the system to respond to any contingency in order to ensure the safety and the prosperity of Japan and its people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimmich. We'll now turn to Mr. Cormier for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm going to ask some question in French, so maybe if you can put your translation. I start in English first. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Look, you probably don't know that, but in my riding of Acadie Bathurst in New Brunswick, we have a lot of fish plant, and some of those fish plant are owned by Japanese people for many, many years. And we have a strong relationship with the Japanese people. They came, I think 20, 25 years ago, and buying crab mostly, and now lobster. And you talk about the trade that is very important for both countries. And I want to talk about maybe more on the economic side of the Indo-Pacific strategy. So how important it is regarding trades, that the strategy that we put forward right now, how important is it that you think that we need to keep making sure that this strategy is the good one, and making sure that will be profitable, if I can say, for all the country that will participate in this strategy? Is there something that you think that we can do better, or are we on the right track, if I can say, regarding this strategy?
I think the Canada, let me say this way, as I just mentioned, the Japanese government and the Canadian government have an action plan, which is based upon your Indo-Pacific strategy. That includes the elements of the international trade and investment. Upon that, we've been working so hard to implement all those action plans, including the certain investment by the Japanese companies to this country. Because at this juncture, we are on a very much historic change, and we see the geopolitics and very serious realities. And also, the world is going for we're going for a carbon neutral by 2050. That makes Canada's significance so much, because you have technologies, you have natural resources, you have a big market right next to you, the power of the NAFTA. So in all those reasons, together with the high quality of the Canadian labor force and the high standard, so I would say many Japanese companies are now showing its interest in this country. That is one of the realization of the Indo-Pacific strategy. And also, I really appreciate that the Canadian government opened its trade representatives in Indonesia, so that the further trade and investment will be expected. And also, we see that we are very proud that the Canadian ambassador to Japan, Mr. McKay, is making big differences, and he is appointed as the special envoy as a Indo-Pacific strategy. That is also helping to implement in terms of the trade and investment to boost for this country.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to ask some in French now, so I'm going to give you the time to put your hearing in. So, au niveau...
With regard to the environment, you spoke in your opening remarks about how important it is to have a plan for the environment in all of these strategies. Do you believe that environmental action, it will concern, in the context of critical minerals, do you think that we will be able to meet our net zero targets by 2050? Do you think that Canada has any adjustments to make? Do you think that we are on the right track?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very critical question because now the more than 140 countries have committed to fulfill the carbon neutral by 2050. So each country is making serious effort to come up with those commitments. And the world is changing rapidly. And technology has been developing so rapidly. So we only hope that we will make it. Then when it comes to the leaders' meeting of Hiroshima summit, and they once again committed to fulfill this carbon neutral by 2050, depending on all those different country has its own history, political reality, and technologies and economic development level. So depending on all those, so there must be various ways to achieve that carbon neutral by 2050. But I do believe this country has enormous potential because you do have the clean energies. And as I just mentioned, Japan's energy sufficiency rate is only 13%. We have to live with that. But in this country, you have 190% of energy self-sufficiency rate. That is very rich and enormous ability. And also strong willingness to come up with their initiative to meet with that 2050 carbon neutral. And I see so many sort of emerging new technologies to produce new energies, hydrogen and ammonia, and also a small modular reactor and so on. And so I think I do not have the crystal ball, but I do hope that this country and Japan can make it.
Mr. Cormier, you're just about out of time. I appreciate your questions. We will now go to Monsieur Bergeron for 6 minutes or less.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency, for being here today. We're really grateful. Thank you for your staff, and everything is good. Mr. Ambassador, Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy was released, and we looked at other countries' vision. We looked at the United States' vision, and then we met with colleagues in Washington with our sister committee of the American Congress. And we talked about their Indo-Pacific strategy. Discussions will be ongoing. When we look at the new Japanese plan for a free and open Indo-Pacific, we can see that the second axis of this plan highlights a new policy with regard to cooperation, meeting challenges in an Indo-Pacific way, especially by establishing partnerships between states from an equal footing. Your Excellency, what is the Japanese perspective? How does Japan believe that what the Indo-Pacific way actually stands for?
Thank you very much. That is a very timely question in this the global affairs of the 21st century. Sometimes we hear the word called Global South. And those Global South countries, the size of population is very different. And also the per capita GDP is also very different. But as long as they are a sovereign country, they have one vote at the United Nations. Each country has its own pride and history and culture. We have to respect them. Then, and when we have meetings with our friends in Southeast Asian countries, so to speak, ASEAN, they have a very strong idea that we are equal. We talk each other. Then come up with the consensus and to go, so find the middle ground and go to that direction. And it may take some time to come up with a consensus. But at the end of the day, that is the only way to achieve certain things together. And no single country can make the things, important things. We need to have friends. We need to have the like-minded countries to achieve certain things. I think so when we say ASEAN way or Indo-Pacific way, do we respect each country's voices?
Merci, Excellence. Justement.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Yes, with regard to ASEAN, I believe that they have a lot of hope for Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. Most witnesses who spoke to us about ASEAN had a positive opinion of the strategy, but last week we had a witness that brought a dissenting opinion with regard to ASEAN. This witness told us, and I'm not sure I want to paraphrase him necessarily, but he said that we shouldn't be investing that much economic hope in ASEAN, and how certain ASEAN members were actually place markers for Beijing. What do you believe about this statement?
Thank you very much. And yes, the ASEAN countries welcome the Indo-Pacific strategy by Canada. And if you see the reality of these 10 countries, population-wise, those 10 countries have more than 600 million people living. That is bigger than EU. And when it comes to the GDP combined of the 10 countries, more than $3 trillion. That is a significant presence. And also, just last December, the Japanese government held the special leaders meeting, Japan and ASEAN 10 countries, for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN cooperation. And we, looking back all those 50 years, those 10, starting from the 7 countries, so now it's 10 countries, they made enormous progress in terms of the economic development and also the political unity, and they are making their sort of influence over to other part of the world. So I only see the positive sign of the ASEAN 10 countries. They are like-minded. Of course, they do have their own sort of way of expressing the things, but we share a lot. And if you see the Japanese companies' attitude to those ASEAN 10 countries, they have invested a lot in expectation of their trust and also growth of their market.
Merci. You have time for just a short question, Mr. Bergeron.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your response. One of the 6 points of Japan's Indo-Pacific plan for a free and open Indo-Pacific region, there is mention of cooperation between Canada and Japan with regard to the rule of law and preserving it. As a number of superpowers in the region have been calling into question the rule of law, including China and North Korea, what do you have to say about Japan's position on maintaining the rule of law?
Thank you very much. And I would say that based upon our joint action plan, which is based upon the Canadian Indo-Pacific strategy too, and we see a great development of the Canada-Japan Defense Cooperation. So I would share with you some of the examples. There is the exercise called Kaidex. Kaide is maple in Japanese way. So Kaidex is like a nice name for the joint exercise between Japan and Canada forces. And for that, the Canadian Navy dispatched 3 frigates, namely Montreal, Vancouver, and Ottawa. 2 frigates out of 5 frigates of the Pacific side. That is a huge commitment. And we've been doing these joint exercises and also participating in the United Nations activities, which is under the Security Council resolution to monitor North Koreans, ship-to-ship transfers. So, and also, along with the frigates, Canada's patrol aircraft CP-140 Aurora was also dispatched, stationed in Kadena Air Base in Okinawa. And that Aurora made a big differences for those activities. And on top of that, the Japanese self-defense forces officers had participated in the Operation Nanook in the Arctic region. And the Arctic is also a very important area down the road.